Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Evilwest, Evil No Healing walkthrough. We are on Chapter 4. Again guys, I don't know the names of the levels. I got this pre-release and there's no mission select, so it makes it very difficult to understand where we are. But the loading screen says From Dusk Till Dawn, which is an awesome reference, and it starts you out in this rather large courtyard where you're going to be kiting and taking on some of the standard monsters and some of the leech monsters on the ceiling, who are technically on the roof of the building next to us. And we're just going to be moving around this zone, using our tools and our resources to take out some of the mobs, with an emphasis on using the guns and counter-punching and using cannonball and the various features that we've currently got access to. One of the things I might not have mentioned that I'll mention now is this enemy on the ceiling here. You can pull it towards you. You can also pull yourself towards it. And it's the most powerful move in the game, so I've been trying my best not to use it too much, because once you discover that it's so good, it's all you're going to do. And it's not a bad thing, because it's really fun. I just wanted to showcase that you don't have to play in a single solitary way, and there are options and tool sets to approach every fight, and it's just about how you want to do it. But it is easily one of the most powerful tools in the game, and you should totally take advantage of it. But the leech creatures, when they do the crit shot, that does a lot of damage. Also, fanning your revolver is really good, especially when you get the electrical ricochet rounds. It's one of the best ways to deal with them, because you can kind of fire and forget and let it ricochet, and just kind of kite around and keep coming back to them. But be very careful when you get close to them, because they release those projectiles up close and they'll just instantly damage you. If you're going to get damaged in this game, it's going to probably be from those leeches, because they're one of those enemies that they exist to put pressure on you from a distance and be a nuisance while something else is trying to kill you, and they do a really good job. Although it must be said, if you don't pull them to you and immediately execute them, I think they have a little bit too much HP for the kind of frustrating support that they're meant to be. And right there is the overhealth. It's a bit of a mistake on this run picking this up, because it means I have to take a bit longer to die, so I usually avoid it. And in future, if you see me avoiding the overhealth, it's not because it's a bad idea to pick it up, it's because when I get hit, I can't just restart like Metal Gear Rising, like Spider-Man. I have to wait for them to kill me, and when I have more HP it takes longer, so it's kind of counterintuitive to trying to do these videos. But this fight here is the same as the previous one. We've got a bunch of the standard enemies, we've got the guy with the big weapon coming in, and there's probably going to be some leeches being introduced at some point. And this is the game trying to teach you how to navigate these arenas where you take on multiple foes of varying lethality, and just to see how well you can multitask. And in this game, once you start understanding what's going on, you can get very confident with being in the pocket. And the reviews came out yesterday, so it was interesting to see the mixed opinions on the game, and a lot of the criticisms of the game seem to be that it was boring, which, just a show of hands guys, if you're watching these videos and you've watched up to this point, maybe you've watched some of the future ones, then you've come back here. Does the game look boring to you? I do find it interesting when people call something boring, because to me it always seems to be essentially a limitation on player creativity more so than what's actually being boring. And of course we can't all like the same things, nor should we, but this game is not boring. Trust me guys, I highly recommend it if you like action games with execution and with some interesting stuff going on. But we have the large creature here with the shield, and this guy is kind of interesting because you can block everything he does except for any of the shockwaves. The shockwaves seem to be a nuisance, and I like to keep pressure on this dude and interrupt his grabs while beating him up. And if you can, you can use your shotgun, you can use melee attacks, you can use a whole variety of different techniques to get rid of his shield. Later on, when we get access to the crucifix, although technically it's not a crucifix, it's a cross, we will be able to essentially stun lock this monster into a really bad situation. And when we get the super powered up mode, between the crucifix and the stun from the super powered up mode and from just the damage you can do, you can pretty much one-cycle these monsters if you do it the right way. Additionally, if you use the flamethrower, you can do some fun things with that as well. But at the very beginning here, we don't have any of this, so we're going to have to engage with him. And I'm going to show you that you don't have to worry about this monster at all, really. The only reason he becomes a threat is when there are people with him. When there are people with him, that's when things get kind of difficult, and you've got to be really careful. But when it's 1v1, he's very manageable, and you should be able to take him out and neutralize him. Something to bear in mind too and be careful of, when you're up close and personal, if you're like me, I like to hold W whenever I play a PC game. And in this game, if you block and you hold block while holding W, you'll do one of those dashes, like a zapper dash. And every so often it'll get in the way of your blocking. So if you're having that issue like I was at one moment in a fight, if you just neutral the controls and don't hold forward, you can stand there and use the buttons precisely and be very effective. But somebody asked on one of the previous videos, why did I pick manual at the start? Was it to make the game harder, like as a restriction? And the reason is not that complicated. I do not like when games aim for me anymore. When I swapped to PC, using mouse and keyboard taught me how much the controller was doing and how much I wasn't doing. And when you don't have that, it forces you to learn to do that. And I find it very satisfying to feel myself getting better and improving and focusing on my ability to multitask and to aim and to, you know, do fine motor functions and things. It's something I really enjoy in games. It's one of the reasons I don't really like modern gaming, because it's all slow walking fucking narrative exposition with no gameplay. But that's the reason. It's nothing like profound. It's just I really do not like it when a game takes control. So I want to be in control at all times. And to some people, this might make it a bit more difficult. But to me, it makes it a lot more enjoyable. And I recommend, guys, I do the same thing in everything. So, you know, when people were playing, you know, Grand Theft Auto 4 with that egregious lock-on, I turned it off. When Red Dead Redemption first came out, I turned off the auto-aim, so when I was on horseback and I had to shoot people, I had to do it, and it was hard, you know? It's just something I've always done. It doesn't make me anything different to anybody else, it's just a preference. But this fight is kind of interesting. You have a big arena, and you have dynamite coming from the ceiling, and then you have, every so often there's going to be spawns of extra enemies to make sure that there's lots of things going on here, because you have about 1 minute and 40 seconds to stay alive. And you can just kite this if you want to. You do not have to engage. You can just run away. But I like to play the Doom Eternal game of, you know, getting my tools back and then using them and just trying to see what we can do with the situation. But I really love this level, and I wish more levels were like it, because I think the pacing on this one is one of the best. It's shorter than the average level, but it's all action. And if they could have thrown a couple of these in later on, I think the pacing for some people would have been a little bit better. But the people complaining about the pacing, this game could have been fucking, you know, God of War, Ragnarok, and they still would have bitched. So you can't win, can you? But that's the super powered up mode. That's the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and you take care now.